All right, folks, welcome back. We are breaking down Luther Burden III out of Missouri. Switched it up a little bit. This was going to be a Trey Harris video, but I started watching Luther Burden tape, and I'm not going to lie, I've completely changed my mind. I've done a 180 on Burden entirely after watching multiple games, including back in 2023. I think this is somebody that makes a lot of sense for the Rams, and I'm going to explain why. Before I do, though, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and be sure to follow me on all social media at JKBogan, including Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Kick. All right, so 3-year starter at Missouri, former 5-star recruit. He stands at 6 feet, 206 pounds. He's 21. He'll be 22 in December. He finished college with 107 targeted passer rating, generating 89 first downs and a 48.9 contested catch rate. However, he had over a 54% contested catch rate the last 2 years. He played predominantly in the slot at a 61.4% clip, and his best year was 2023. That is really what I came away with watching the tape, and obviously the stats would back that up. His dramatic drop off in production in 2024 is why I believe he is falling down boards. I mean, maybe he already was. Maybe it's all smokescreen. I don't know. But I just looked at every mock draft recently that was on the NFL.com. And what I noticed is none of them had Luther Burden, unless I missed him. None of them had Luther Burden in their top 32. So if he falls into the second round, the Rams could trade down. Oh, my God. They would be getting an absolute steal. This guy was tied for first in missed tackles forced this past season with 30 and with Nick Nash. What are the pros? What makes Luther Burden Luther Burden? He makes guys miss in space. I already told you that, obviously with that stat, but he doesn't fool the guy always with his elusiveness. And when he doesn't do that, because he has a lot of different moves, he can, make all sorts of guys miss. But when he doesn't, he has a backup plan. And that backup plan is he is going to knock you on your ass. He's going to break tackles. He is hard to bring down. So normally you think of a lightning in the bottle. He's more like a thunder in the bottle. He's more like a bowling ball, which I love watching. He's like a running back playing wide receiver. I think it really allows him to be more of a physical player instead of an electric one. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I think we get so caught up in, the electric players that we forget the physical ones too just as well. Look at what Puka Nakua's doing. Not necessarily electric, more so, thunder than lightning, but the physicality is what really kind of separates Puka Nakua from others. His route running, I'm going to say right now. Okay, initially when I first watched, and I watched one game of his, and I really was turned off. His route running is way better than given credit for. When I watch people talk about this guy, I don't know if they've actually watched enough of him. And I say that not trying to judge or anything. I did the same thing. I watched one game. I didn't really love it. I didn't love his effort. I just felt like he was all over the place. He didn't look like a first-round pick to me. But this is why I watch more than just one game with a lot of these prospects. He's got great pacing in his routes, the ability to manipulate his route that he's running. Like I said, he's a much better route runner than given credit for. He does a really nice job of redirecting through traffic. When you're running your route and there's all sorts of traffic, and what I mean by that is you have a linebacker here, a linebacker here, maybe a defensive back here, and you can't run right into them, he's able to get around them, and he does a nice job of kind of staying on the same plane of the route. So when things get clogged, this guy's really good at playing on the fly, but he's also really good at playing on the fly when a quarterback tries to improvise. And that is something that I loved. Right away, I noticed that. Quarterback Brady Cook, he tried to move out of the pocket, and instantaneously you had number 3 Luther Burden kind of looking back and, communicating with him with the hands and letting him know. And, he's trying to work, swerve his way, and get open. And it does happen quite a bit on film. And I love seeing that because you have a guy like Matthew Stafford, and he's got more mobility than given credit for. And the improvisational skills are off the charts. Obviously it's not Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, but for what he is, it's really good. And so having a guy like Luther Burden that, lives to play until, the whistle, he's constantly trying to get open. That's a big deal for me. And that's something that I love watching when I see that with him. His stop and start ability is insane. I mean, this guy can stop on a dime. Whether he has the ball or not, it makes him, a pest to cover as a route runner, but it also makes him a pest to tackle. Just when you think you have him, or, he senses defensive back or a linebacker has a good read on him, is taking a good angle, he's just going to stop. He's going to stop right where he is, and then he's going to start again. And if that does mean, carrying a guy on his back or breaking a tackle or making a guy slip, that's what he's going to have to do. He'll do it. Love watching that. He has the explosiveness to take it back to the house. I think it's kind of underrated. Guy ran in the 4.4s, and I think you do see that on film. He's got a lot of tools in his arsenal. He could be a gadget guy. I know there's normally like that negative connotation when you're a gadget guy as a wide receiver. People are kind of the assumption you're not that high football IQ. You don't have route running ability. You're just a guy that basically needs to be schemed open because you don't really have anything other than your athleticism. That is not true with Burden. So saying that, in general, normally you're saying that this player is limited in what they can do. Burden is an absolute game breaker. Okay. So I think, he's going to be fine no matter where he goes. So he shows the ability also to climb the ladder and win the contested 50-50 ball. That was something I noticed. I mean, he has some crazy back shoulder catches where, the guy's draped all over him. He still turns around, makes the catch. Love that. He works his way back to some bad throws that Cook threw. And, he shows the aggression at the catch point, which I love. If you see that a guy's going to pick off the football, try and get in between that. Try and come back to the ball, be aggressive, maybe knock it away, or at least try to make a play on it so it doesn't get picked. And he's good at that. He's got great body control as well as sideline awareness. It's going to make him a danger at all areas of the field. And when you have Matthew Stafford, who's pinpoint accurate, he's done it with Puka Nacua, that is a perk for sure. He can utilize that. This is a guy in Burden that can win everywhere, all over the field. Really good at setting himself up after the catch, which is his bread and butter. And I will say this, similar to his route running ability, lack of nuance, all that, he is an underrated blocker. He really is. He's way more willing than, and physical than given credit for. And he has plays littered all over his film. I didn't expect this because, again, that first game I watched that turned me off, didn't like him as a blocker, all that. Then I watch one game, then I watch the next game, and I watch the next game. I start to see a pattern. When his teammate has the ball and he's running upfield, Burden's putting himself already, or has put himself already, in a position to box out that player. He does a nice job. I think that counts for something. Okay, does he need to improve his blocking? Absolutely. By underrated, that doesn't mean he's elite. By underrated, that doesn't even mean he's good. It means he is better than where he is. The consensus rates him. And the consensus has said he's pretty much a poor blocker. I would disagree. I would push back on that. Littered all over his play are those move blocks deep down the field. Things that you saw Robert Woods, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Jordan Whittington do. He's doing that. So that's a good sign. Here are the cons, though, because there are cons to this guy's game, and you be the judge. I don't think that they're that crucial. His versatility is in question. He started his career at Missouri, out wide, didn't really have the success. They moved him, in the slot, and was used in motion a lot and instantaneously had production. So does that mean he can't play out wide? I don't think so. He's still only 21 years old. There's a lot more to his story. And obviously NFL coaching can get him under the hood and be like, okay, well, you have this, this, and this. We can develop this and turn you into this. So I'm not going to rule it out, but the versatility as far as the cons, yes, it's in question because I don't know if he can play on the outside, whereas I know he can play in the slot. I don't know if he can play on the outside. He hasn't done it consistently since his first year at Mizzou. He struggles against more physical defensive backs. They'll get right on him at the snap, and he struggles against that. He does get out of it most of the time, but he's not creating a ton of separation at that point, and it makes it really tough on the quarterback. And in all honesty, unless you're Matthew Stafford, of course, any college quarterback at that point has already looked on to another read that's going to be an easier throw. So that's something there to keep in mind. Not anything that's a game breaker, but, something to keep in mind. And plus, always understand the guy, when he has the athleticism, You talk about the stop and start. You talk about the agility. You talk about the long speed, just the physicality. You can make it work. You know, these coaches are built to develop these guys. So let's not rule out anything when it comes to that. His route running is not a weakness like people say, but he does lack polish. Okay, so, you know, some touch-ups here and there, you know, more attention to detail in his route running does tend to round off his routes at times. He has to have more polish and add more nuance to his route running if he wants to be a consistent and effective separator at the next level. That is not me saying he can't separate. He can. But if he wants to win consistently against NFL-level defensive backs, he's going to have to work on his route running ability, and not so much just the ability to run routes, but more so the crispness. We're talking about the nitty-gritty details, and those are the things that Rams wide receiver coach Eric Yarber and other wide receiver coaches out there can work on and help him get better at. Like I mentioned, he's not the greatest blocker in the world, but he's better and he's underrated. He's more underrated than people realize, but he's willing. The thing is, the con here, he still lacks consistency. The technique just simply needs improvement, like the route running. These are just the finer details. This is what's going to allow him to be much better and reach his full potential. You're not seeing cons where you're like, wow, this guy, there's no chance he's going to work in the NFL. This is a big one. PFF had this come out. 75% of his catches were targets that came from inside the 10-yard line or inside of 10 yards. I understand that kind of rubs people the wrong way, but at the same time, if he's that damn good in the short game, who cares? Eventually, he can work his way into the intermediate, and then he can work his way into being really dominant in the deep area. But he also doesn't have to. And the reason being is my player comparison that was a no-brainer for me from the moment I turned on this guy's tape the second time was DJ Moore. Look, DJ Moore coming out of Maryland did the exact opposite in terms of draft stock as Burden, assuming this holds up. Burden's stock has fallen. No one is talking about him in the top 15 anymore. He probably will end up going in the top 15 because I'm making this video and taking the time. I know how it works, but Moore was the opposite. Moore went from, he's not really being talked about a lot to flying up draft boards, before the draft happened. More like Burden is another running back type of player that was playing wide receiver, in my opinion. He lacked polish as a route runner, and he was really dangerous after the catch. He had great elusiveness and physicality to break tackles that he didn't dodge. More like Burden, they end up measuring at 6 foot. He's 210. Burden is 206. Moore runs a 4.42 40 with a 1.53 10-yard split, whereas Burden runs a 4.41 40 with a 1.54 10-yard split. I looked at those after the fact, but when I'm watching him and I see that, I know a lot of people say Deebo Samuel. No, he is just like DJ Moore. It is crazy. And then I looked at the measurables, and sure enough, they're almost identical. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a no-brainer comparison. I turn on the tape, and that's what I see. Moore has since become a way more nuanced route runner, and has merged that, and that's the beauty. When you already have a skill set, you're already really good at a skill set, you could argue he had elite yards after the catch ability, DJ Moore did. When you could take that elite trait and then you get better at the things that you struggle with, the things that are really important, like route running, you fuse that together. That's how you turn into a really, really good football player. I suspect Luther Burden is going to follow suit. Moore is a good reminder that Burden's success isn't dependent on where he lands, and I want to make that very clear. Because while this is a Rams channel and we're talking about from the Rams perspective, if you're looking at this and you're not a Rams fan and you just want to know who is Luther Burden, you want to know more about him, I'm telling you right now, watching DJ Moore play for Carolina, who was never great, and watching him play for Chicago, who really, the offense just got a play caller, but it has not been good over there. He still had a great career thus far, and it is a reminder that Burden doesn't have to go to, a huge offensive juggernaut or an offensive mind to have success, because you saw DJ Moore have it. Obviously, you'd like to have NFL coaching be able to take him to the next step. You'd have to hope that they have a wide receiver coach wherever he goes that's capable of doing that. But as far as, you want to maximize his potential, that's where we start to talk about, okay, he can have success no matter where he goes, in my opinion. But if you want to maximize his potential, I think the Rams are the best fit, and here's why. So, if he went to a team like the Rams where you have Sean McVay, you could throw him in with Puka Nacua, you could throw him in with Devontae Adams, you could throw him in with Tutu Atwell and Jordan Whittington. Right there, that is probably the best wide receiver room in the league. I just feel like not only does Luther Burden make sense for the Rams if they stay at 26, but he might be the best fit for the Rams. If I'm deciding between him and a lot of Rams fans' favorite, Colston Loveland, it's a no-brainer. It's Luther Burden. I just feel like this guy, he is going to work out. And I would go as far as to say this is the player. You know how there are always those players. I believe, despite the ACL tear, there was a player by the name of Nick Chubb that I watched the tape and I'm like, I understand the ACL tear. It's hard to project, but he is a no-brainer. He will work out. Don't overthink it. And sure enough, he's worked out well. He's one of the best running backs when healthy. Same thing with Todd Gurley, although I overthought the whole Todd Gurley thing. I had Melvin Gordon ahead of him. But there are people that overthink things. I thought people were overthinking Patrick Mahomes. He played an air raid offense and didn't throw interceptions, despite the fact he was throwing volume, right? Anyone that really just was out on Patrick Mahomes, they overthought it. Whereas I felt like Josh Allen, that wasn't really overthinking it. He didn't have great numbers against top competition. He wasn't playing top competition much. His completion percentage was abysmal. That's a guy that got a lot better, right? But I feel like with Burden, all these guys that are being talked about now, he's going to go in the first, whatever. Burden is a guy that is being overlooked, and he's being overlooked because of the lack of production in 2024. What I will say is this: watching the film, I will say that Missouri was holding him back. I thought Brady Cook initially looked pretty good. I still don't think he's a bad quarterback. He's not as bad as people say. But you could see those underthrows. You could see he was missing them open. There were a lot of targets that should have gone to Burden that he did not get in 2024 like he did in 2023. And the Missouri offensive line did struggle. Despite the fact Membu, their left tackle, is going to go really, really high, they did struggle. So, that is something that I consider here, and I feel like people are overthinking it with Burden, and I was too. So, this is how I see it. He might be the best fit for the Rams if they stay at 26 because of the fact that you focus on the balance of 2025 and now, and beyond, excuse me. When you focus on now, you're talking about a guy that can help you, can kind of diversify your receiver room, add another weapon, but a different type of weapon, a different dynamic for your offense. But then in addition to that, Burden helps you for the future. Now you got Puka Nacua and Luther Burden long term, right? Burden checks all the boxes that signal he's going to have a successful NFL career. The things he struggles with aren't the things he's incapable of doing. It just means he needs more refinement in those things. There are struggles. There are weaknesses. But when we talk about weaknesses, a lot of the time we're talking about, wow, this guy just athletically, he's just not gifted enough to be able to do this. Burden doesn't have those limitations. Okay, so give Eric Yarber Luther Burden, and I think you could get something special out of him. I do. Burden fits right away as a power gadget player that could split time with Tutu Atwell in 2025. I think Burden's ceiling as a player, you could have an offense run through him. Okay, you don't need to because you have Puka Nacua this year and you have Devontae Adams, but you could absolutely have an offense run through him when he's fully developed. And yes, I would say I expect him. It's not just a comparison on play style. I really expect he's going to be like a DJ Moore type of receiver. I think we're talking about a top 15 NFL receiver if he develops properly. And I could see a world where the Rams commit to the present and future. They get Burden, a yards after the catch guy, get an explosive playmaker, a guy that can be motioned around, played in the backfield, lined up in the slot, and he has the potential to become an outside receiver. Because I think a team like the Rams doesn't just have that kind of straightforward surface level thinking. No, it's a great organization. So if they draft Luther Burden, they're not just looking at him as a guy that's like, yeah, you know, he'll be a good slot guy. I think they'd be looking at developing his outside game so he could be a full-on inside-outside player and have, you know, that ability to essentially be versatile. And that's something that Rams receivers have. And as much as I love Tutu Atwell, there's one thing that Tutu Atwell lacks. One thing, big thing that Tutu Atwell lacks. He does not get enough yards after the catch. He doesn't break tackles, okay? This is somebody that does get brought down on first contact. As much as I like him, he can make guys miss, but if he doesn't make that guy miss, he's not running through them like a Luther Burden. So I love the fit. I can't believe it because initially I was so out on this guy. And this is why I would just encourage anybody, if you feel like you know the player after one game and you're like about to back out of him, watch the second one, watch a third one, watch a fourth one. Do whatever it takes for you to get a full scope of what you believe. To me, that Florida tape really stood out to me in 2023 as to who he can be. So, look, Rams are a lot better than what Mizzou had. It's not like he was playing with a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. It's not like they had a great offensive line. But I'll tell you something. The way the Rams have used jet motion in the past, jet sweeps, they've used Ben Skoranek at fullback. They've used those quick screens, bubble screens at wide receiver. Obviously, I don't have to tell you that. Sean McVay uses it all the time. I think Burden will have plenty of opportunities to compete this year, and getting a fifth-year option on a wide receiver might make a lot of sense. But that's not like the end-all be-all. I would say a perfect scenario is the Rams are able to trade down and get Burden, maybe staying in the first round, but trade down and get another pick on day 2. But yeah, that's what I got for you guys. Let me know what you guys think. Do you like Luther Burden? Do you think he's a good pickup? Do you think he'd be a good fit? Where are you at on him? I just think you're getting a guy that has the chance, if he focuses on, refining that route running and his blocking, he has a chance to be, what do they call it in baseball? A 5-tool player. He has a chance to do everything. He's got the speed. He's got the physicality. He's got the run after the catch ability. He's got separation skills. Can he hone that to get to the next level? The blocking. He's got the ability. Can he get to become a really good blocker? I believe he can. And so for that reason, I think there's a chance Luther Burden, if he goes to the Rams, especially if he goes to the Rams, if he goes to a team like that, I think Burden could end up as the most productive wide receiver in this draft. Yeah. So sleep on Luther Burden at your will, at your own risk, because I'll tell you right now, people are overthinking this guy, and I know because I was one of them. So yeah, that's going to do it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and let me know your favorite thing about Luther Burden, your least favorite thing about Luther Burden down below. I'll talk to you guys soon. Later, folks. All right, guys, so once again, just want to let you guys know that you can check out my new side project, The Lounge. I interview athletes, musicians, actors, actresses, all the nine. So definitely check it out over on the Lounge with Jake Ellenbogen channel. Be sure to subscribe and enjoy. In case you guys haven't noticed, I do have a Discord channel for my community on this channel. And if you want to be a part of it, it is free. The link is in the description below. You can sign up. This is basically a 24/7 Rams channel, and we are almost at 1,100 members. So if you want to be a part of it, just hit the link in the description below.